Today, Larry Elder attacked by a racist liberal. The National Archives posts a harmful content warning on the Constitution and more. And President Biden tells 11 ex-Trump officials to resign from their military advisory boards. They say, hell no, we're not going anywhere. We've got a lot coming up today, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Today joined by, I know it is Thursday. I'm going to mess with your mind just a little bit because Pat is out today. So I am joined by BlazeTV contributor Jaco Booyens, host of the Jaco Booyens Show, and also Stu Burguiere. So we have half of Pat and Stu. Stu Burguiere, host of Stu Does
The lesser
America.
half, but I'm here anyway.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to say it.
No, I don't. It's all right. I'm not the one with the cookie company, so
that's fair.
Not nearly as exciting.
And not just the cookie company, but like the best cookies you'll ever eat.
I still haven't had these cookies.
Oh my gosh, I have some in the other room. I should bring you some.
Do you really?
Yeah, I actually have some of the new flavors.
I hear about all these cookies.
There you go.
I know
Taste test at the end of the show.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And that will be my calories for the rest of the month.
Yes.
By the way, also, I don't know how we're going to get through the show without just mentioning football is starting back. And we were discussing the NFL. And I said I was boycotting the NFL, but I did find out that they are doing a merch collaboration with Ed Sheeran. So now
Look,
I'm buying all the things.
I didn't know you were an Ed Sheeran fan, but we should arrange something.
Oh my gosh, I got to tell you about my tattoo later. Anywho, back to the news and why it matters. California Republican gubernatorial candidate Larry Elder had eggs thrown at him yesterday while walking the streets of Los Angeles with members of his campaign, and it gets way worse than that because it was a white person wearing a gorilla mask. Let's play that. So here is, for those of you who are listening on podcasts, Larry Elder walking with his campaign, his security, and here she comes on a bike throwing eggs. It is a gorilla mask with pink hair. And now she's throwing very womanly punches at the security detail. So this is great. This is a really great look for liberals wearing a gorilla mask while throwing eggs at Larry Elder, who, again, for those of you, maybe you're someone who is listening on a podcast and don't know who Larry Elder is. He is a black man who is running for governor in California as a Republican. So just trying to give the right context for the viewers to understand how bad this is, because how bad would it be if the tables were turned? And let's say that this was Stacey Abrams over here walking the streets and someone did this. I think every Republican for the end of time would have to answer for this random person who did this and answer the question, why are Republicans such racists? How could you do this? This is so violent. This is, somehow they'd tie it to the insurrection, I'm sure. And here we are, and crickets from the left when it comes to a liberal dressing up in a gorilla mask, throwing eggs. I mean, this is assault at this level, throwing eggs at Larry Elder. Gentlemen.
Yeah, so first of all, he was attacked by a monkey, right? A freak show.
Well, yeah, I mean, a freak show, yes.
Freak show, a complete freak show.
Hold on, I have a question. Is the mask connected to the hair, or is the hair connected to the woman?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's all a freak show. They all want to be Joker.
I feel like it's a good question.
No, I think it does matter. The news and why it matters is important here.
No, at this
I
point,
think the hair is connected to the mask. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay,
It
the
looks
hair is
like it,
connected
right?
to the mask.
Okay.
It does look like
Yes.
it. Well, which I'm just curious, like, number one, where do you get a gorilla mask with the pink hair? That just seems very odd.
Yeah. Okay.
In California.
She's in
That is a great answer. That shut me up.
And she
You're
missed.
right.
She can't throw, number one. Right? So she missed, for those of you who can't
shocking.
see. But yeah, it's case in point. This is that picture, that's the left. Right?
Yeah.
Masking themselves, coming as a monkey, racist act, it would have to be depicted as that, right? All of a sudden, if it was reversed, it would have been, oh, you're racist, right? And then throwing punches. But this is where we are, Stu. This is the hypocrisy and the, you know, the sword that only cuts one way and not the other way, and they can flip skin color like it's a toggle on a digital dial. All of a sudden, if it's them against Elder, who's black as they come, right? Doesn't matter now, right? I mean, they've accused him before of being a black white supremacist.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that's it? That is
what
it was,
right? They called him the black white supremacist. So the rules are out the window. But it's cowards. They're cowards. Just like their president, not my president, their president who runs away from tough questions.
Hashtag not my president.
Not my president. That's my hashtag. And I'm not talking about South Africa's president, this president, right? Hashtag not my president who runs away from tough questions. They hide behind masks, you know. If it was a conservative, there would be no mask, and they would hit. They wouldn't miss, right? But we don't do those things.
We don't. We're too busy like
we're civil
stuff,
right? Yeah. And we're intellectual, right? So.
Well, we could spend the entire show, I think, talking about the hypocrisy of this, the coverage of it, and that, like, I don't know of any mainstream source that did anything on this. I mean, I don't think it was a story at all.
A gubernatorial candidate in California getting assaulted by someone is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, a black.
I mean, but let's take race out of it for a second. Even if it was a white person, if it was a Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, let's just play this out for a second. Yeah. Texas, a black Democrat is walking through a town where a bunch of white people surround them in gorilla masks and hit them in the head. And you're right, Jaco, we would have hit the candidate in the head. But you know, don't poorly throw eggs at the candidate. That would be not a passing kicker of a story. It would be the lead story in the nation for a week.
The Justice Department would be talking about how they're doing all of the, white extremism, white supremacy.
Congressional investigations would go on.
Yes, there would be testimony on Capitol Hill.
And mind you, she picked a blackface.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A white person in blackface against them. This is so. I mean, it would be arrested.
It would have been incredible. And so it's important to note that hypocrisy. Because I think we have this tendency of doing, of like wanting to say, well, I mean, I want to do the well, if it happened with Obama or if it happened with Biden or it happened with Trump. It's too much to mention here. It would be a massive, massive story. Remember, it was a massive story when people were like making like it was like a scarecrow in the shape of Barack Obama when he was president, and that was a big story. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even in the state. Can you imagine if Barack Obama, while campaigning in Texas, got hit in the head by a white person in a gorilla mask? I can't. No. It would be out of. No. We should also point out too, though, this race is like. There is a chance for California to have a respite from the torture they have had for such a long time.
I refuse to believe it.
I do too.
I can't get my hopes up like that.
I do too. Now, the polls show Newsom holding on from usually between 53 and 58%. Anything 49.9 and he loses. And Larry Elder wins. I mean, you look at the secondary candidates, Larry Elder has a massive lead. So it's really a two-person race. That's what Gavin Newsom is trying to highlight, basically. Like, okay, well, it's you might not like me. I might not be the perfect Democrat. Sure, I went out to a fancy dinner, but do you really want this guy, this Rush Limbaugh-like guy, this scary conservative guy, the guy that doesn't like women and all these things he's accusing Elder of? But I mean, it's really remarkable in a state like California that we could be here. I mean, Larry Elder, in a couple of weeks, it's next Tuesday, right? The actual election is Tuesday. Could be the governor of California. I mean, that is a remarkable thing. We went over a story last night quickly, just to, I don't mean to take us off topic too much, but about Gavin Newsom, the story that I don't think anybody really knows, I haven't seen it reported anywhere, that when he came into office, he had an infectious disease specialist as his director of public health in the state. And she wound up leaving. The assistant secretary was also an infectious disease specialist and took the job for about 4 months in the summer of 2019, leading right up to the beginning of COVID. Newsom demoted her and put her back in her assistant role and hired a woman who had no knowledge of the inner workings of the state whatsoever, Sonia Angel, and was hired because she was Latina. Because the assistant, who was an infectious disease expert, was white.
She was white.
The quote was she was too blonde to take the job.
Yeah.
They pushed her. They eventually pushed her out. But in the process of doing this, they banned the doctor who was the assistant from saying the word pandemic in the offices. They made her erase her whiteboard graphs of how the disease would spread.
What board?
Her whiteboard. She was white, and that was the problem.
Wow.
And then when it was so obvious, the woman that Gavin Newsom appointed to this role couldn't handle the role.
Yeah.
They actually tried to hide it and said that they would let this other actual infectious disease specialist run the response as long as she didn't say she was doing it, as long as they said the Latina was still doing it, because we don't want to remove the Latina from office. And Gavin Newsom even said in one of his press conferences that this woman was only put there because she had an expertise in health equity and structural racism. I mean, now California had, of course, a very rough battle with COVID, and and I'm not even saying that we would sit here as conservatives and look at what they wanted to do in California and be like, oh, that's the best idea. We might have hated all of her ideas, but the bottom line is that at least she was qualified to do the job. Instead, he chose wokeness over competence in a role that wound up being incredibly important, and he's faced no consequences for it.
Wow. Yeah, Stu, and if that's not enough, I want to do my part here in helping Larry Elder. And I'm going to be the one at the table. I'm going to draw a line in the sand and go, we're going to flip California. What?
Really?
Yes.
I love that.
This is why I'm telling you, Newsom's got to go. And I'm going to do my part. I want to remind all the California moms that Gavin Newsom is the first governor in our country to bring in comprehensive sex ed, to teach your 10-year-olds about anal sex, to teach your 5-year-olds about masturbation, to take your 3-year-olds and say they can get puberty blockers. That's Gavin Newsom. He's the agent of death to all things child in California. So if you want your children to fall off the proverbial cliff, if the earthquake don't split you off and you float into the ocean, if you want to fall off the cliff, then you keep Gavin Newsom. Larry Elder is not the best, but he's a lot better, and at least he will fight for children because there's some conservative and Judeo-Christian values around there. So just remember, Newsom, anti-children. Elder is at least going to be pro-family and pro-children. Yeah. I have hope.
Wow. Well,
I like the optimism.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Okay, well, while we're on the subject really quickly of this race, CNN is... See, don't you love it when the left just eats themselves? I personally, they've radicalized all of these people, all of their viewers. And then when it turns back, it turns around and bites them in the ass. I do love it. I love
it is fun. It's satisfying.
Right. Yeah, thank you. So CNN viewers very upset at CNN because they interviewed Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously is also a California recall candidate. There's Caitlyn right there. Can I, okay, so by the way, they were upset because Caitlyn Jenner only has like 1% support. So Charlotte Clymer, who is like, can we agree, one of the biggest lefties ever?
Yeah, up there.
Is that hard?
I'm not familiar with Charlotte.
Okay, well, Charlotte does have the flag. The rainbow flag. And beautiful feminine picture there. But if any other candidate was polling at 1%, they wouldn't be getting airtime. There is absolutely no reason why Caitlyn Jenner should be on any news network because, this is not... It's not LGBT, love, tolerance, respect, all of that. It's, Caitlyn Jenner is a Republican, which is a big problem. Yeah. Therefore, Caitlyn Jenner, much like Larry Elder is a black white supremacist, Caitlyn Jenner is all of the fill in the blanks.
I think Charlotte had a crush on Caitlyn and couldn't get a date, number one. That's the first point. And then, Charlotte, can I remind you that there's another person who got a lot of airtime, who got 2% support, who is now the Vice President of the United States. Just saying.
That's a very good point. I seem to remember plenty of Republicans in that primary at 1% on CNN all the time. I mean, people like John Kasich, who were critical of Trump, got on all the time.
All the time.
They were constantly on television. I think didn't he even get a contributor role with CNN?
I think so.
I think he did. Yeah. Look, Caitlyn Jenner is on TV because Caitlyn Jenner is famous for other reasons. It's nothing to do with the running for the gubernatorial race in California. It's because he's on the Kardashians for a long time. I don't know if people know that. That's why
Olympian, gold medalist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, actually, that was Bruce Jenner. Another person.
Don't
you dare dead name.
Let's not dead name.
I'm telling you, give the medal back.
Actually, so I saw Caitlyn Jenner at, I'm trying to be careful here with but people get mad any pronoun you use. You have someone like getting mad at you for not using the right pronoun. I saw Caitlyn Jenner at, CPAC, and boy.
Yeah.
Stomping around.
I was there too.
I was not like the ladylike.
There's no grace.
No. Stomping around in flip-flops.
How dare you? Because you're only supposed to say Caitlyn Jenner is beautiful. It's the only thing you're supposed to say.
All I can tell you is that body.
Caitlyn Jenner is a Republican gubernatorial candidate. Now you can say she's trash.
See, so that's
well, see, that body, that structure didn't change. The bone structure was still the structure of a decathlete, an Olympian. Right, so
he's walking around like, "Hey, Caitlyn, hey!" I was just like, "This is not."
Was Caitlyn Jenner a popular figure at CPAC?
We were there.
I wouldn't say. I would say Caitlyn Jenner generated a lot of attention at CPAC.
But it was also swift. It was in and out.
Yes.
Wasn't there for long.
Yes. And there were a lot of people who wanted to, similarly to us, we were like, I want to get the video of Caitlyn Jenner walking past me, right? Or like saying hi to Caitlyn Jenner just to have it, but not necessarily because I'm a big fan.
Exactly. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of passion for Caitlyn's
It's just a novelty.
And it doesn't seem like it's a real candidacy, frankly.
Right,
I mean, I believe Caitlyn Jenner was doing Big Brother in like Australia, like in the middle of the campaign. It's like, all right, if you're trying to be the governor, you need to be in the state, like talking to people, not in Australia. I mean, I don't think it's a serious. I mean, look, I think there's really.
That's a really good point you're making, actually, Stu. I actually think everything today.
He does seem a little
No, that's a really good point, Stu.
Thank you.
For the first time ever. No, totally
I did it.
No, brother. But what I mean is this: there's no conviction. There's a lack of actual conviction, I think, in politics today, in general. Of do you really believe? Or are you so flippant that you will go do Big Brother while you're running for governor, or you will talk to the American people as the president and not give a hoot and leave people behind?
You're so flippant and you go eat at fancy restaurants with no mask while telling the rest of the...
Exactly. That was, I think that's what we're seeing. There's no depth in conviction about the American people. So
yeah, wow, great points, Stu.
Thank you
for that.
I did one.
We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, ExpressVPN. So, a couple decades ago, those of us who are old enough to remember this, private citizens, that used to mean something when something was private. But the internet has changed all of that. So everything you've browsed, searched for, watched, tweeted, everything, all of that is being crawled through. All of that data, it's collected, aggregated by third parties into a public record. This is your life, basically, essentially your life, your private life that can be exposed for others to see. And now it can happen to anyone. And that is where ExpressVPN comes in. I use ExpressVPN and by the way, a lot of people are like, oh, you only need a VPN if you're like looking up a bunch of porn and stuff that you don't want your spouse to figure out. I will have you know, that is not true, because there are so many different things that all of these big tech companies can find your information. I just don't, like, personally, I don't even like it when Facebook shows me ads of stuff that I was searching for somewhere else.
Or
you know what I mean?
about.
Like, yeah, and they're making money off of it. So you don't need to be doing something nefarious online to need ExpressVPN or to not want big tech to not get your information, all of your information, all of your data, and sell it to somewhere else. All right. So ExpressVPN, the connection gets rerouted through an encrypted server, and your IP address is masked. You are given a random IP address every time that is shared by other ExpressVPN customers, so it makes it more difficult for third parties to identify you. By the way, my favorite part about it is it doesn't make any of my systems lag. My computer, my phone, they do it on smart TV as well. All of my devices, they don't lag. It's just a one-button tap to get protected. All right, you got to go to expressvpn.com/y. You will get 3 months for free when you sign up. It is expressvpn.com/y. In an effort to protect all of us, the National Archives and Records Administration determined recently that all of our founding documents that we have here in America, they may be, quote, harmful or difficult. end quote, for some users to view, since they reflect outdated, biased, offensive, and possibly violent views and opinions. This is the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. They have harmful language alerts above all of these in their catalog. And when you click the alert link, you're redirected to the statement on potentially harmful content, and they say that it is their charge to preserve and make available these historical records, and by virtue of this charge, the harmful content will be preserved. But they do note, guys, that you just have to be very careful. You never know what you're reading on the internet. Some of these items, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they may reflect racist, sexist, ableist, misogynistic, misogynoir, and xenophobic opinions and attitudes. And now you may be wondering, what is misogynoir? But I know that Stu knows it because I listened to the radio program this morning when I knew I was not the only one who did not know what misogynoir is, and you had to look it up.
Yes, I did. I did not. I had never heard that term before. And it apparently is a, like if you're misogynistic, you're a pro-man, anti-woman, right? Misogynoir is anti-black woman.
Yes.
So they couldn't just say anti-woman.
No.
They had to say anti-black woman, and specifically. Now that list is going to get to be 40 pages when they go through all the genders and colors and ways people identify. But as of right now, they're only signaling out black women.
So wait a minute. In this moment, there is such a thing as women.
At least, I think that's a great point. I don't know.
In that moment,
people with a uterus, people who menstruate.
People,
which
well, we'll get
personally,
there.
I'm offended by that word, in particular, menstruating.
Ah.
I think it needs to be wimixenstrating.
That's much better.
Thank you.
I think you need
It rolls off the tongue.
It's perfect.
Can we get back to this? I did not immigrate to this country for these documents to be thrown in the trash, trampled over, because I came from a country where this happened, 100%. And let me tell you, like I told people, affirmative action is the next step in America, and it's the Equity Act, but that's affirmative action. That's just going to call it something else. The next step is this horse crap. I could say something else that's going to happen. And if people buy into it, this is what happens. They'll change your flag. That happened. They'll change your national anthem. That happened. They will topple history. They will cancel history. They will rewrite history. They're already
trying to do that right now. Wasn't there a statue that was just taken down today?
I know, but which is what I'm saying. We can look at history in other places around the world. This is not rocket science. This is Marxist behavior. There's a playbook. It's check boxes. They're not imaginative. They're going down a playbook, right? This doctrine that's been drafted since the end of the Second World War, and they just go, this is next. Check. America fell for it. This is next. And now they're coming after the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, saying, hey, these are harmful documents, which means the foundation of the nation is harmful. To do what? To replace it, to shake it, right? To uproot it. And so if people in any way, if you're watching and you think, yeah, maybe it could be, shut your mouth, get your head in the sand, take a beating somewhere, come back with reality, right? Or check yourself into a loony bin and realize that we have to preserve those things as the untouchable documents, like the Word of God, or all else will fall, because when you move the foundations, the building comes down.
Fully agree with that. And you have obviously real experience seeing that happen. It's happened all over the world, though, right? I mean, it's really, it's been something that's been repeated over and over again. The idea that the National Archives has to warn you about the National Archives is really a very strange development.
So weird.
And this stuff just keeps happening. It's really a problem, because when you get, I was on, I want to say it was Reddit or some liberal, news aggregator, and they were like, check this out. And it was this link to the original draft of Thomas Jefferson writing the Declaration of Independence. And in there is a long screed about how bad slavery is. This is something that they had never even considered. To everyone who was commenting underneath it was basically saying, like, this guy's owns slaves. He's the worst guy in the world. I thought these guys were all racists. You read this, and he's talking about how it was one of the worst things. It was this scourge on humanity. We have a copy of it in the Mercury One Museum, and it is it would inspire everyone to understand what the reality of even that time was. They knew how bad that was, and they did everything they could to get rid of it, if not for just a couple of states blocking it at that time. And then they worked for 100+ years to stop that later on. These documents are an inspiration to all of humanity. Mm-hmm. It has changed the world for the better, and it has created the greatest environment for human beings to flourish that has ever existed. And I'm not apologizing for it.
No, no way. Show me another nation with stronger fundamentals, stronger fundamental documents from which they created an idea, became a country. Show me one. Mm-hmm. There isn't. There's none.
Yeah,
anywhere.
I agree with you, but I appreciate you making the statement stronger fundamental documents, because stronger fundamentals right now in this moment in 2021, I would say I don't think we have them as a country.
We don't execute them.
No,
we don't. No, I mean, they're there. They're there. They're there,
which is why they want to remove them, because they've moved cultural. The daily culture has moved so far. The only thing that's anchoring us still, right? It's like a boat that's moored to the dock and there's a lot of rope. You can drift, but you know we're not going to lose the boat. Mm-hmm. So how do we make sure we lose the boat? Cut the rope. Right. So rock the foundation, because the only thing that's still kind of keeping us halfway in the right direction is the foundational, documents. If you get rid of those, float to sea. Right. You're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, iTarget Pro. So practicing with your firearms, it's like one of the most fun parts of owning a firearm, except for the fact that ammunition costs like a ridiculous amount, if you can even find it these days. All right. So if you are looking for a cost-effective, safe, easy way to practice, you got to try iTarget Pro. iTarget Pro was invented actually to give gun owners a better way to train in the safety and privacy of their own home. So you don't have to go to the range. You don't have to buy the ammunition that is really going to really rack up right now. iTarget has a proprietary app. You download it, you load the laser bullet into your firearm, you start your training experience. So you're going to be dry firing your firearm over and over again. It's going to help you develop muscle memory, sharpen target reaction speed, sight alignment, trigger function, and so much more. It comes in all the major calibers, so you can stay sharp with all of your firearms. You got to go to itargetpro.com. You can save 10% and get free shipping with the offer code NEWS. If you've got you've got hunters or any gun owners in your life who are passionate about these guns, this is going to pay for itself in like one time of usage, all right, with as much as they are saving in range fees and ammunition. It is itargetpro.com, offer code NEWS. President Biden, who, by the way, has a big speech. As of the time of this taping, he has not spoken yet. I believe that the time that this is airing, he will, I guess, just be wrapping up a speech. Who knows how long it's going to take him to get through a teleprompter speech. So we will have more on that in the coming shows. But he just told 11 appointees from the Trump era that they must resign from their military academy advisory boards or be fired immediately. And we've got several of them, Kellyanne Conway and Sean Spicer, I know namely, who both responded yesterday and said, absolutely not, I will not be resigning. Here, Kellyanne Conway said, President Biden, I'm not resigning, but you should. So, which was, I feel like a very succinct, yet says so much. So it's Kellyanne Conway, Sean Spicer, but also H.R. McMaster. And there are several names in there that, someone might say, well, Kellyanne Conway doesn't have any business being on a military advisory board. But there are some names on there that certainly you can't say they are not credible people to be on these boards. So it is interesting, and Kellyanne Conway pointed out 3 former directors of presidential personnel informed me that this request is a break from presidential norms. It certainly seems petty and political, if not personal. The result is that faithful and willing public servants will be discouraged or thwarted from service. Our service academies will risk being further politicized and polarized, which I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with at all. This is a break from the norms, for all that we heard about going back to, God, don't you remember when they said this was just going to be a boring presidency, and they were so excited about that? Brian Stelter's like, the best part about this presidency is that it's going to be boring, and we love that because Trump was so high drama.
That's an incredible stelter. When did you
Thank
start?
you.
Did you develop that recently? That sounds
I
just
did.
like him.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's out of resentment.
What?
Your resentment for Stelter. That's you breed that kind of talent out of resentment.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I mean, look, H.R. McMaster is unquestionably qualified to serve on a military board, whether you like the president he served under or not. By the way, he's served under multiple presidents, and is critical of Trump. Yeah. I mean, he's not exactly like Trump's best friend. Trump doesn't like him. He doesn't seem to like Trump very much. What does that have to do with anything? He's totally qualified to do these things, even if he's not, though. I mean, like, there's no reason to make... You know, we have enough partisanship in our life. If we have a situation where people can come together and try to help our service members in any way that they can, we don't want to add politics to that. It'd be better to subtract it from any of these situations.
But it seems to be the entire Biden agenda, like their entire policy is just whatever Trump did, we will either undo or just do the opposite, no matter what it is.
Except for Afghanistan, he was stuck to that deal. He was stuck to that deal, Sarah. He had to enforce it.
He had to take that one.
That's a great point.
Look, this is such hogwash. There's not look, you have boards of directors and then you have advisory boards. I'm blessed to serve on several of both. You do not want your advisory board to mirror your board of directors. You want your advisory board to be very diverse across different sectors of society. And so absolutely can a Kellyanne Conway serve on a military advisory board. She's bringing completely different perspective. Right? You're not asking her to have military strategy. That would be the board of directors or the ones who's actually in position, the decision makers. So a board of advisors should be very diverse, coming from different angles, because you're putting complex situations on the table saying, can we look at this from different angles and can we come up with ideas, right? So it's not like everybody in the room all of a sudden had to be an expert, because if that was the case, then Stu would be completely wrong, which he's never, hardly ever, right? Because in the beginning of the show, Stu told us that the person Gavin Newsom brought into the office on infectious disease knew nothing about infectious disease. So when does it actually matter to be qualified or not? All right, come on. No, it's ridiculous.
It really is. It's just this back. Like you're right. Like the anti-Trump thing dominates the way this
everything, the whole administration.
Runs. And
it's
they don't
crazy.
they don't seem to care about anything else. They don't seem to care about the inflation. They don't seem to care about what's going on in Afghanistan. I mean, you got people. Glenn Beck's over there, friggin' landing planes and picking up people. I don't know what's going on. That's not supposed to be the way this has happened. And we talked about, we've worked, I know, Jakob worked with us as well on we've all done all this stuff with Mercury One over the years. And like when that was started, I remember Glenn used to introduce it as, if we want the government to do less, we need to do more. And I thought that was a really great way for conservatives to think about charity, right? Like we can't just sit here and complain about the government, right?
Taxes,
exactly. If we want those taxes to go down, if we want there to be less of an impact, we should be able to be willing to step up and donate our time and our resources and our money. I did not think, though, we needed to go into Afghanistan and pick people up and fly them out. Like, I didn't think it needed to go that far. I thought the government had that one. Apparently not.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
All the qualified people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then to block them. I know we're kind of getting derailed here, but then to block the people who actually the private citizens who went in and did it. It's like, okay, and now not only do you not want them to clean up your mess, when they actually try to clean up your mess, you don't want people to find out about it, I guess, because it's going to make you look bad.
Cover-ups are always part of it, right? It's just a matter of I do feel like eventually with Afghanistan in particular, we're going to get we're going to get books. There's a lot of people, even in the State Department, but certainly in the military, that are disgusted with the way this happened. And we're going to get some reporting.
Both sides of the aisle, by the way.
More than you think. There was a moment I was actually impressed with the media through this. Now it's starting to fade. Just a moment. It's starting to fade, but I do think there are people that are dedicated enough. We spent 20 years there. People lost their lives. Think about going through this weekend again. September 11th, 20th anniversary is Saturday. This is going to hit, I think, everybody in a totally different way, knowing how this all turned out, knowing the complete incompetence and disregard for human life that this administration has tossed out there. And I think watching that video always brings me back to that moment. To do it again after all of this has happened, it's hard to imagine.
Stu,
last word.
This weekend, 20 years ago, just 3 weeks later, I immigrated to this country. I walked in that street in New York. I was leaving footsteps in the ash, right? And so it's going to rattle people this weekend, and so it should. And I don't believe in irony. I believe in divinity. God is divine. Things happen for a reason. We have this result because the people in power in this country at the moment are anti-American. They do not care about our people. They behave that way. I can judge their fruit. I can do that. Biblically, I can do that. I can look at their actions and I go, that does not line up by putting our people first, period.
All right, the latest on Texas's heartbeat, the abortion law that the left is up in arms about when we come back. Oh, and AOC's take.
Oh, but it's smart.
Sources have informed the Wall Street Journal, apparently, that the Biden administration's Department of Justice will proceed with a lawsuit targeting the state of Texas for Senate Bill 8, which is, of course, the heartbeat law that we have covered on the show. This is not shocking. I think we all knew that this was coming. We knew that the federal government would come after the state for daring to protect human life. You can't do that in Biden's administration. I struggle to believe. It's one of those too good to be true things. I struggle to believe. It's like the California governor, Larry Elder. Will he actually become California governor? I can't even go there. For me, I know that this law is now in effect, and that's great. But I just keep thinking like, this isn't going to last. This isn't forever.
Come on now,
they're gonna sue us. They're gonna block us. The Supreme Court has the case with, who is it? Mississippi. And I can't fully let myself believe that this is the law in Texas because it just feels like we're on borrowed time. Am I being too cynical?
I don't think you're being too cynical on the Texas law. I do think the Texas law is going to have its problems in court. That what the Supreme Court said was basically like, you guys aren't going about this right.
Right.
Like, you're not challenging
this procedurally, this is wrong.
Someone needs to get sued before we can take this case.
Right.
That's all they really said.
Right.
Of course, they're acting as if they've overturned Roe versus Wade, which they haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what's happened here. The Mississippi case is one where that could happen, right? Mm-hmm. That's a legitimate, I think. I mean, look, anytime I can see a baby not die, I'm going to be excited about it. Yeah. So I'm happy about the results.
What are you, some kind of weirdo?
I know, it's a weird stance to take. So, I'm excited about the results, certainly, in Texas of what may come out of this.
Right.
But I don't know that this is the way we want our legal system working generally, like that people are just suing each other for. I mean, can you imagine what California would do with this? You got an SUV. Well, we're not going to say you can't have an SUV, but people can sue you and get $10,000 if you drive an SUV because you have a climate crisis going on. I think this could expand. I don't think this is the best way for our legal system to operate. Yeah. That being said, though, the Mississippi situation is one where, Roe versus Wade is also not the best way I should point that out. It's also a terrible way for our legal system to operate. And this is why you have to have these crazy solutions, because it was such terrible law at the beginning. It's been doubled down on so many times. Now we're at the point where, like, if we could go back to just Roe versus Wade, it would be a massive move to the conservative side of the argument. We're so far away from that. So hopefully, I'm with you, I will say. Mentally, I look at this and I say, look, there's 6 Republicans there. Even if you lose Roberts, you should be okay to do something serious here. I can't physically allow myself to believe this could happen because it's been a letdown every single time. I just assume it's going to go terribly. That's not a legal analysis. That's just me, I think, hedging my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, here comes Mr. Optimist.
No, it's not about Mr. Optimist. It's about me understanding just how life works. And not to I'm going to go against both of you on this again. That seldom happens, but let me tell you.
How dare you?
Let me tell you something real quick. Momentum is a funny thing. And as an athlete, you know momentum. And when momentum shifts, you do not get it back. And it, sir and ma'am, has shifted. Listen to me today.
Okay.
We're going to turn Roe v. Wade. And we're going to turn it in this state and the city where it started, Dallas, Texas. And it's going to turn right here. This is going to stand, bring the war. This is me saying, buckle up, okay? Because we're going to come for you. I told you I stood with Governor Stitt 4 weeks ago in Oklahoma. Stood with him when he signed the heartbeat bill. Watch, look at Tennessee, look at Kentucky, look at Alabama. the momentum has shifted. People start to believe, and I'm going to continue to tell them, keep believing. Yes, there's going to be a battle, okay? Yes, we got to buckle up. Our AG has to buckle up. We're going to go into a legal battle, but we're going to turn this thing. I'm absolutely optimistic.
Wow. I'm much more optimistic on Mississippi, I think, than Texas standing long term.
It's going to be a collective.
But
it's going to be a collective. It's not going to be one state.
Quickly, I think we kind of go down this road a lot of times where we think, okay, well, we have this position on the right and they have this position on the left, and we just fight and fight and fight and fight forever. Look at like some other divisive issues that have been kind of changed over the past few years. Gay marriage, right? Mm-hmm. A huge ruling, a terrible piece of doctrine. Mm-hmm. I mean, Obergefell was terrible as far as the law goes. Forget what it actually did. However, like, we don't sit here and obsess and talk about that every day. Marijuana is legal all over the place. That was a really important rule for conservatives back in the day. Really, we don't talk about it that much. This is, we are going back decades and decades and decades of Roe versus Wade, and it's just as important to conservatives today as it was the day it happened, because it's the life of human beings we're talking about here. Yeah. This is not just some little law. It's not some divisive issue. It's not women's rights. Women can do whatever they want, but they can't kill other people, just like men can't kill other people.
Right. Stu, you bring up a great point, because it isn't just women's rights. It's actually menstruating people's rights. This is according to, of course, true. AOC, who was on with Anderson Cooper discussing this very law, and she needed to make sure. Actually, she contradicted herself. I think she said like 3 different terms: menstruating people, women, and one other one. Let's watch.
This is about making sure that someone like me as a woman, or any menstruating person in this country, cannot make decisions over their own body. And people like Governor Abbott and Mitch McConnell want to have more control over a woman's body than that woman or that person has over themselves.
How dare she use the term woman?
Woman?
Okay. All right, so I told it off air not to be redundant, but I just want one. AOC, just bring me one menstruating man. Just bring me one. Bring me one man that ovulates.
Sure you want to see that?
Just one. They don't exist. One. One with a uterus. Just one. You can't pull one out of your backside. Just one. Okay? She doesn't even believe in her own argument. Now she's a woman, then she's not. Menstruating person, menstruating elephant, menstruating monkey. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is an absolute joke. It's posturing. It's virtue signaling, it's gaslighting, it's all of these things. It's all just to get a minute in the sun, and it's just get up the Instagram likes, get the hits up, be relevant, because I'm so empty, I can't give society anything of any value.
Yeah, it's Stu, last word on
I'll just leave it here. In October of 2024, AOC turns 35 years old. She will qualify to be president of the United States just a few weeks before this election happens. Just want to put that in the back of your mind.
You call me the optimist.
We need to take a break so I can cry. We'll be back.
Oh, don't we just deserve it at this point?
We really do. All right, this is the part of the show where we usually do reviews, which we are doing, but it's a cookie review. Instead of a podcast review.
Because we're all emotionally disturbed by Biden, so now we got to eat this stuff.
Makes
so we have, these are, of course, Kexi cookies.
Kexi cookie.
Which are Pat Gray's. These are Pat Gray's cookies. Well, not his cookies.
Jackie makes them.
This thing is heavy.
Yes.
It is dense.
I've got huge hands, like massive hands, okay?
Yeah, you really do.
No, I really do. I've got massive hands. Look at this thing.
Let me put it on my... Here.
Look how heavy that is. It's as big as your head. Yeah. It's as big as your head. And so they're really good. We usually cut them up into pieces. Do you want a pumpkin spice one?
Yeah,
That's
I would
pumpkin
love
spice
one.
there.
I've never tried them. I want to.
Pumpkin spice, all right? Or you want?
Yeah, I'll grab the pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pumpkin spice is quite good.
Even that little slice is a.
Yeah.
That's a nice.
Oh my gosh.
Really good.
So good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like crunchy on the outside.
Can people order it online?
Yes. KEKSI.com.
Kexi. Maybe the camera can catch this again.
Follow them. So if you really want to just like be tempted all day, follow them on social media. They're constantly posting pictures of their new cookies. They've got seasonal cookies that come and go, and it will make you
Texas,
hungry.
Not China.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't want cookies from China at all.
No, but it's made in Texas,
This is so
it'll
good.
work.
Holy moly. Well, Pat, you weren't here, but we enjoyed your cookies without you. So thank you for that. Thank all of you for watching. We will see you tomorrow. I'm going to stuff this cookie in my face now.
Let's not invite Pat next time. Let's just invite the cookies.
I had one.